Part 14. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao-Ji Depeng. Chapter 132. The white-robed and white-haired Zhenkinzan shook his head. Lord, you should listen to me and wait a little longer. Lord, you are now in the middle stage of the second stage, and you are not far from the late stage of the second stage. When your cultivation reaches the late stage of the second stage, if you want to attack Greenwater Baytown, I will never persuade you. Zhenkinzan's current cultivation is also in the middle stage of the second stage. When Xuejun's cultivation reaches the late stage of the second stage, his cultivation will almost reach the late stage of the second stage. In fact, with the current strength of him and Xuejun, he thinks it won't be a big problem to attack Greenwater Baytown. But he still wants to suppress Xuejun. Because he knows that attacking Greenwater Baytown is not only useless for their Black Tiger Town, but also harmful. After all, even if they take Greenwater Baytown, a small town like Greenwater Baytown will not bring them much benefit, but will attract the attention of other territories. This is definitely not worth the loss. However, Xuejun had just taken over as the Lord of Black Tiger Town not long ago. He was arrogant and wanted to take over Greenwater Baytown to prove himself. He could only persuade him in this way. After a while, maybe there would be changes in Beiwu Island, and Xuejun would no longer care about Greenwater Baytown. Xuejun's eyes flickered. After a moment, he said in a deep voice, "In this case, I will wait until my cultivation breaks through before taking action against Greenwater Baytown." Zhenkinzan has a special relationship with their Mole family. Although he doesn't like Zhenkinzan, who always likes to go against him, he has to make some concessions. In Greenwater Baytown. In Black Tiger Town, when Xuejun was thinking about attacking Chen Ronghuo's Greenwater Baytown, Chen Ronghuo happened to walk into the meeting hall. "Sir Huang, I don't know what the Lord is going to say when he summoned us here this time. Can you give us a hint first?" "Yes, Sir Huang, you were the head of a village like us before. You know the difficulties of our villages. This time the Lord summoned us here. Would he not want us to pay taxes again?" The dozen village heads in the hall were surrounding Huang Taizheng at this time, wanting to get some information from him in advance. But Huang Taizheng was very tight-lipped. No matter what they asked, he didn't say a word. Ahem. After entering the hall, Chen Ronghuo coughed twice lightly, and then walked towards the main seat. At the same time, because this matter was not a secret, he did not close the door of the hall after entering the hall. "Lord." "Hello, Lord." Seeing Chen Ronghuo, a group of people hurriedly dispersed and bowed to Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo nodded, walked to the Lord's throne and sat down, then looked at the dozen people below, identified them with an ancient book, and said directly without any politeness, "I called everyone here this time to announce an order." Here, he paused slightly, and when everyone was listening quietly, he set his eyes on the village chief of Shanghe village and said, "I decided to rebuild a town with Shanghe village as the center within a month. After the town is built, all the people from your dozen villages will move to the new town." "Build a new town?" "Everyone will move to the new town after a month." As soon as Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, the dozen village chiefs were all dumbfounded. Before coming here, they thought of a lot. But no one expected that Chen Ronghuo would actually announce such an order. "Lord, after the new town is built, what will we do with our original land?" "Yes, if we move to the new town, we will have to run more than 10 or 20 miles to farm. How can this be possible?" After a while, more than a dozen people looked at each other and asked Chen Ronghuo the question they were most concerned about. "Don't worry about the land issue. I will definitely help you solve it when the time comes." Chen Ronghuo knocked on the armrest of the chair. It would be harmful to him if the seed matter was exposed in advance. So he could tell Huang Taizheng and others, but not these people. After signaling everyone to be quiet, he continued, Now you just need to follow my orders, gather people, and go to Shanghe village to build a new town. The establishment of a new town does not need to be done in one go. Even the city walls and the like do not need to be built first. You only need to build houses that can accommodate 10,000 people within a month. There are no high-rise buildings on Beiwu Island, and Chen Ronghuo does not plan to build high-rise buildings for the time being. So there will probably be thousands of houses for 10,000 people to live in. If you want to build thousands of houses within a month, you must mobilize a large number of people. Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. 2 years ago, there was an insect plague underground. The villages have not had any harvest for nearly 2 years. Now the insect plague has finally disappeared. They were originally full of confidence and were ready to plant the land again. But they didn't expect that Chen Ronghuo would ask them to move out of the original village. Moreover, Chen Ronghuo asked them to rest assured about the land issue. But how could they rest assured about this matter? Seeing the expressions of these people, Chen Ronghuo said in a slightly cold tone, "You should have heard clearly that what I just said was an order, not a discussion with you. But I asked you to take time out to build houses, and I will not ignore everything. In the next month, I will provide enough food for all of you who come to build houses. Even, I will give 10 copper coins to each person who comes to work every day. This is a combination of carrot and stick. Now every village will not have enough food if they don't go hunting. If he didn't provide food and just let them work, some people might starve to death." Although the 10 copper coins he distributed to each person per day was not high, it could reduce some of the villagers' grievances. Let him gain the power of faith from him in the future, with fewer obstacles. Order. This time, after hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, several village chiefs suddenly did not dare to say anything. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo asked them to work, not only providing them with food, but also paying them wages, which shocked them greatly. In the past, when Zhou Yuanhua was a lord, in addition to asking them to pay more taxes, he also asked them to support the labor force. But under such circumstances, Zhou Yuanhua would not even provide them with food, let alone money. Seeing the changes in the expressions of more than a dozen people, Chen Ronghuo paused and said again, "In addition, after the new town is completed, I will also accept all of you as citizens of Lushwiven town. At that time, the taxes you need to pay every year will all be greatly reduced." As soon as Chen Ronghuo said these words, the bodies of more than a dozen village chiefs were shocked again. They all couldn't believe what Chen Ronghuo said. Chen Ronghuo's words shocked them even more than when he just proposed to build a new town. Click, click, click. At this moment, Chen Ronghuo suddenly looked through the open door of the meeting hall and saw an old man with a grey beard walking quickly from the outside with excitement. He frowned slightly. This old man is none other than Liang Qian, the wood warlock who is in charge of the grain depot of Greenwater Baytown. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 133. At the entrance of the meeting hall, before Liang Qian entered, Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui, who were guarding outside, stopped him. In the meeting hall, Chen Ronghuo glanced at Liang Qian, who looked excited outside, paused, looked at Huang Taizheng and said, "The establishment of the new town will be handed over to you, Mr. Huang, in the future. There should be someone who is good at coordinating this matter in Lushwiven town. You can find someone to help you." Huang Taizheng hurriedly bowed and said, "Don't worry, Lord, I have found a few people who understand this in the past 2 days. Then I will trouble Mr. Huang for everything." Chen Ronghuo nodded, then he looked at the others and said, "Today's meeting ends here. I hope that when I see you again next time, the new town will have been built and you can all become my subjects." Then he said a few more words, and waved his hand to let more than a dozen people disperse. After everyone dispersed, he looked outside the door and said, "Mr. Liang, if you have anything to say, come in and tell me." After hearing this, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui let Liang Qian in. Your subordinate greets the Lord. As soon as Liang Qian came in, he bowed to Chen Ronghuo and said excitedly, Lord, I have already experimented on the seeds you handled before. What are the results of the experiment? Chen Ronghuo asked with a smile. Unbelievable, Liang Qian took a deep breath and said, the vitality of those seeds has increased greatly. I took out some seeds and cast the wood spirit inducing technique on them. Then I found that the growth rate of these seeds was far beyond the previous one. At the same time, the grain produced by the plants finally grown from these seeds is several times more than before. Liang Qian's eyes flashed with a deep sense of disbelief. He is a wood sorcerer. Wood sorcerers can promote the growth of plants, and can also use some methods to transform and cultivate new varieties of plants. He has a low level of cultivation, but he likes to delve into this aspect. But he has worked hard for so many years, let alone seeing such incredible seeds, he has never even heard of them. That is to say, the grain grown from these seeds in the end has no spiritual energy. Otherwise, he would have thought that the seeds in the granary that had been processed by Chen Ronghuo were the seeds of spiritual plants. Seeing Liang Qian's excitement, Chen Ronghuo said, Mr. Liang, you were the one in charge of planting in Lushwiven town before, right? Liang Qian bowed and replied, My lord, it was me. It was just because of the insect plague in the past 2 years that I was transferred to manage the granary. Chen Ronghuo nodded, his eyes fell on Liang Qian, and he identified his attributes again. Liang Qian, first-level late-stage wood sorcerer. Sincerely devoted to studying plant transformation. Loyalty, 60, originally 30, because he felt incredible when he saw those processed seeds, it was increased to 60. Sorcerer qualification 2. Ability 1, Wood Spirit Inducement Technique. Ability 2, Alien Wood Technique. You can use this technique to absorb all kinds of strange auras and infuse them into plants, so that they have a chance to mutate. Ability 3. After identifying Liang Hua's attributes, Chen Ronghuo nodded slightly. Liang Hua had just become his subordinate, and his loyalty was 60, which was already pretty good. The most important thing was that this person was sincere in studying plant transformation and had few other thoughts, which was just right for him. After thinking for a while, he said, in that case, then Sir Liang, you should continue to be responsible for crop planting in the future. Now that the insect plague has disappeared, the town's land has been delayed for 2 years, and it's time to start again. There is winter in Beiwu Island. But the climate here is weird, and I don't know what factors affect it, so it doesn't have winter every year. Sometimes, there may be a winter every few years. Now this period of time should be winter. But there is no sign of cooling down, which means that this year's winter can be skipped. And this is a great blessing for Chen Ronghuo, who is short of food. Liang Qian's eyes flashed with excitement. Lord, are you going to plant all the seeds in the granary? Yes, Chen Ronghuo nodded, but you also know the importance of this seed. So the townspeople who plant this thing must be under absolute control. This thing cannot be leaked out for at least a few years. That is to say, next you have to select special growers as soon as possible, and then separate these growers from other townspeople, and they cannot communicate with each other. Liang Qian immediately showed hesitation. Lord, I'm afraid not many people are willing to do this. Lords generally don't force their subjects. Because all lords need to get the power of faith from their subjects. Forcing subjects will lead to impure power of faith. Don't want to do it. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. The selected growers will be paid wages every month and rewards will be increased. The wages of all growers can be equal to those of ordinary warriors in the town's guard team. The wages are equal to those of ordinary warriors. Liang Qian opened his mouth wide at once. Ordinary warriors, that is, first-level warriors. A warrior of this level can get 2,000 copper coins per month if he serves in the town's guard team. Although the yield of the new crop varieties has increased greatly, if he wants to plant all the seeds, he may have to select 300 to 400 people to barely make up for it. According to Chen Ronghuo's method, the salary of 300 to 400 people will be 600,000 to 700,000 copper coins. Adding the salary of the town's guard team, Chen Ronghuo's monthly salary will probably be at least 1.5 million copper coins. Seeing Liang Qian's expression, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Not long after he became the lord of Greenwater Bay Town, he already knew that there were not many valuable things in Zhou Yuanhua's treasure house. As for the copper coins, there were not even a single one. Obviously, Zhou Yuanhua had a treasure like a storage ring. All of Zhou Yuanhua's precious treasures are stored in his own storage equipment. But he didn't have much to worry about. Because he had already stolen 5 million copper coins from Zhou Yuanhua before. So many copper coins are enough for him to use for a while. In addition, there is a bronze vein on the mountain near Red Fish Village. He planned to go there for a while. Use your left hand to touch the copper ore that is difficult to mine. Thinking about this, Chen Ronghuo asked Liang Qian, "Do you think if I set such a salary, would anyone be willing to spend several years without interacting with other people and just grow crops?" Liang Qian said hurriedly, "If the Lord is willing to give 2,000 copper coins as a reward to ordinary growers, everyone will definitely be grateful to the Lord." Chen Ronghuo nodded, "In that case, I will leave this matter to you. If you do well, I will not be stingy with rewards." "Thank you, Lord, for your trust." Liang Qian immediately bowed. Immediately, Chen Ronghuo exchanged a few words with Liang Qian and sent him away. In the next few days, the construction of a new town centered on Shanghe village and the planting of new varieties of crops that Liang Qian was responsible for were in full swing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 134. Build a town. The news that Lushwiven town recruited nearby villagers and built a new town with Shanghe village as the center quickly spread. Such a large-scale action could not be concealed at all. After knowing this, Zhou Yuanhua of Angsha town, Zhang Tiansheng, the leader of Beishi town, and Shuijun of Haihu town were all surprised. They couldn't figure out what Chen Ronghuo was going to do. Isn't it nonsense to merge more than a dozen villages into a town? Farmers don't have so much land, how can they eat? Does Chen Ronghuo pay for it himself? Just when these people were puzzled, 5 or 6 days passed in a flash. During these days, Liang Qian, under the instructions of Chen Ronghuo, recruited 300 or 400 people and planted new varieties of crops on a large piece of land on the northwest shore of Lushwiven town. At the same time, before the seeds were planted, the land was separated from others and strictly guarded by guards. It's just farming, but they can earn 2,000 copper coins every month, which is equivalent to that of ordinary warriors like us. Those who were recruited by Lord Liang are really lucky. But even after several days, other townspeople are still talking about this matter. Especially some warriors in the guard team, they feel a little jealous. Although they get a lot of money, they have signed a contract. For 5 years, they can only farm. And they can't leave that place. How can we be free? There are also warriors who disagree, but these people are only a minority. Even if Chen Ronghuo doesn't listen to these discussions, he can think of them. People have bad roots, but they are either big or small, or obvious, or hidden. At the same time, he can also judge the changes in the power of faith absorbed by the Lord's statue these days. It's just that he didn't pay attention to these at the beginning. Until 5 days later. Chen Ronghuo called Ho San to him. Ho San, pass the order down. 3 days later, all the warriors of your first corps will start training. During the training period, there will be enough food. but the wages of all warriors will be reduced by 3/4. Because Huang Taizheng went to Shanghe village to build a new town. He didn't find a suitable candidate, so now the guards of Lushwiven town have all been temporarily incorporated into the first corps. He will be in charge of Hosan. Training. Wages of warriors reduced by 3/4. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Hosan was stunned. In the past few days, because Liang Qian selected the growers and increased the rewards for the growers, the warriors of Lushwiven town have been dissatisfied. Now, Chen Ronghuo is going to reduce their wages. It would be strange if these people didn't go crazy. Of course, Chen Ronghuo is the lord of Lushwiven town, powerful, and assisted by him and Huang Lin. Even if those warriors go crazy, they will only discuss secretly at most, and it is impossible to make a big fuss. But it can be imagined that in the next period of time, the purity of the power of faith collected by Chen Ronghuo will definitely drop significantly. Warriors have stronger souls than ordinary people. The power of faith emitted is also more than that of ordinary people. There are only a few hundred warriors in Lushwiven town, but the power of faith that these hundreds of people can contribute is definitely comparable to that of thousands of people. Therefore, almost every lord of the town will treat his warriors well. Like Chen Ronghuo, he really didn't know what to say. Of course, he also knew that Chen Ronghuo might have other purposes. But he couldn't think of it, and didn't dare to ask more, so he could only take the order and retreat. After Hosan left, Chen Ronghuo thought about it, and took Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui to stroll in the town. This time, after taking a closer look at the situation in the town, he slowly walked to the south bank of Lushwiven town. There is a pier on the south bank of Lushwiven town. A large number of ships are docked here. From a distance, you can see two dark mountains. Between the two mountains, there is a vast expanse of green water. The name of Green Water Bay Town comes from the curved waterway between the two mountains. Chen Ronghuo knew that if he went along the vast expanse of green water and passed through the curved waterway before the mountains, he would reach the boundless sea outside. Lord, I heard that the sea is turbulent. Our Green Water Bay Town is a natural blessed land. Even if this Green Water Bay is connected to the sea, it will not cause any waves. Even the tides of the sea will hardly affect us. It's just that I have never been to the sea since I was a child, so I don't know what the sea is like. How about we follow the fishermen and go out to sea together? Zhu Daipen stood beside Chen Ronghuo, looking at the two mountains in the distance, and looked at Chen Ronghuo expectantly. Chen Ronghuo did not reply, but stood in front of the dock and looked at the two mountains in front. Water controlling mountain. A water controlling bead can make the water calm and turbulent. Green water mountain, a green water bead can turn the water flowing through it green and become fresh water. At the same time, this green water can also turn marine fish into freshwater fish. The eyeballs of fish that live there for a long time will also turn light green and contain some spiritual energy. After a while, he used the identification technique to know the reason why the green water here was so slow. There is no rush to go out to sea. Then he glanced at Zhu Daipen and looked into the distance again. On the large expanse of green water in the distance, there were wooden fishing boats going back and forth on it. Because Green Water Bay is close to the sea, the fishing industry is well developed. Most of the townspeople make a living by fishing. Especially in the past 2 years, due to the underground insect plague, the fishing industry in Green Water Bay has reached an outbreak period. That underground insect plague affected several towns in the surrounding area. However, most of the townspeople in Green Water Bay were not affected much because they were close to the sea and could fish. They even made a lot of money because of the rising fish prices. Of course, perhaps this was also a calculation of Zhou Yuanhua. Chen Ronghuo looked into the distance, and then cast his eyes near. There were also many small wooden boats paddling on the calm water nearby. These small wooden boats were either casting nets to catch fish or feeding fish food, which seemed to be orderly. Green Water Bay Town has such a large area of water, so it will naturally not be wasted. In addition to people who go out to sea to fish, the town also raises a large number of fish in this area of water. Many of these fish came from the sea. But this industry is the Lord's private property. All fish farmers and fishers work for money. Crack. At this time, a nearby fishing boat approached the shore with a large number of fish of various kinds in a fishing net. Most of these fish have a common feature, that is, their eyes are a light emerald green. At the same time, it is precisely for this reason that these fish living in green water are collectively called green pearl fish. Chen Ronghuo turned his eyes and fell on a strange fish with sharp teeth in its mouth in the fishing net. Green pearl fish, living in green water for a long time, the eyes mutate and contain some spiritual energy. Warriors can eat their eyes to assist in cultivation. In addition, after taking out the eyeballs, put them in the sun every morning, noon, and evening. After 7 consecutive days, grind them into powder. After making them into a paste, apply them on the body, and the effect can be doubled. Thanks for your votes at Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 135. Green bead fish. After Chen Ronghuo used the identification technique in the ancient book to identify the properties of the strange fish, he turned his eyes and fell on other fish. The results he got were almost exactly the same. However, he was not surprised by this. Although he had not eaten this specialty of Green Water Bay Town these days, Fat Cat had eaten it. So he already had some understanding of it. And he came here this time just to confirm it again. At the same time, he also knew that before this green bead fish was Zhou Yuanhua's main industry. In addition to using it himself, Zhou Yuanhua also exported this fish to other towns. However, when Zhou Yuanhua exported this fish, he almost dug out the fish's eyeballs and sold them separately. In other words, Zhou Yuanhua should only know that the eyeballs of the green bead fish can assist warriors in their practice. But he didn't know how to make ointment from the eyeballs of the green bead fish and apply it on the body for use. Thinking of this, he took another look at the calm water in front of him and the curved waterway between the two mountains in the distance, and then slowly returned to the Lord's mansion. Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui looked at each other, wondering what Chen Ronghuo's purpose was in strolling around. It was not until they returned to the Lord's mansion. Chen Ronghuo wrote down the steps for dealing with the green pearl fish's eyeballs and asked them to hand it over to the person in charge of the fishery that they suddenly realized. Just when Chen Ronghuo was dealing with the fishery, the news of the training camp that he had asked Ho-san to pass on before, and the news that the wages of all warriors were reduced by 3/4, almost like a thunder, quickly broke out in Green Water Bay Town. The wages of those growers have risen to 2,000 copper coins, but the wages of us ordinary warriors have to be reduced to 500, a full 3/4 reduction. What is the Lord going to do? Yes, is it true that from now on, the status of our Green Water Bay warriors will decline? All the warriors were talking about it. And this is still on the surface. Secretly, no one knows how many warriors are gritting their teeth at Chen Ronghuo. In addition, other people in Green Bay Town are also very surprised by Chen Ronghuo's decision. I don't know what he is going to do next. Chen Ronghuo is very powerful, especially his identity as a ghost magician. But no one is optimistic about his various actions after taking over as the Lord of Green Bay Town. Build a new town and merge more than a dozen villages into one town. And all the people in this new town will be included as the residents of Green Bay Town. Isn't this crazy? Recruit growers and sign a 5-year contract. During the contract period, all growers will be paid 2,000 copper coins per month. Is this what a smart person would do? Even after these two things, Chen Ronghuo attacked the foundation of a territory. Attacking hundreds of warriors in the territory and reducing their wages. This simply made everyone with a little bit of brains shake their heads. No one knew where Lushwiven town would go in the future under Chen Ronghuo's nonsense. And time passed for another 3 days while everyone was discussing. 3 days later, in the square in front of the Lord's mansion, hundreds of warriors stood in a majestic square under the command of Ho San. After the team stood in place, Chen Ronghuo slowly walked from the side to the statue of his lord. Walked in front of everyone. At this time, he had changed into a black noble robe with red edges. This outfit happened to be similar to the color of his natural disaster magic flame. After Chen Ronghuo walked out, the 300 or 400 warriors standing below all looked solemn. Under Ho San's training, they looked at Chen Ronghuo, and no one whispered. But when they looked at Chen Ronghuo, their eyes revealed the same meaning. That is to say, what reason Chen Ronghuo was going to use to take away 3/4 of their salary. Chen Ronghuo stood in front of hundreds of people, scanning them one by one. While scanning these people, he also used the ability of ancient book identification to identify all of them. Then, after a long silence, he suddenly said, "I asked Ho San to inform you that after today, all of you will participate in the training. Those who participate in the training will be provided with meals every day, but 3/4 of their wages will be deducted. But now, I have decided to change this decision." Change? How to change? Are you not going to train? Hearing Chen Ronghuo say this, many people's eyes lit up. But under the gaze of everyone, Chen Ronghuo said, "I have decided to select only 200 people from you for training. But these 200 people who are training, in the next period of time, they will be concentrated in one place for training like the growers I selected, and they cannot contact the outside world." After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, all the people with excited faces froze in an instant. There are 300 or 400 of them at the moment. Chen Ronghuo wants to select 200 people, which means he has to select half of the warriors from them. And the wages of these half of the warriors will be reduced by 3/4 after this. They will even have to be like the growers before, and they will not be able to contact the outside world for a period of time in the next period of time. Thinking of this, many people are nervous, fearing that Chen Ronghuo will choose them later. The people whose names I read out are the ones I have chosen: Lin Bao, Qi Yuchen, Zhehu. When Chen Ronghuo read out their names, the warriors walked out of the team with stiff faces. And those warriors whose names were not called out, while worried about being selected by Chen Ronghuo, looked at those warriors who walked out of the team with a bit of gloating on their faces. Cha Tonghui, Yerui. Just as time passed, as Chen Ronghuo read out nearly 100 warriors, there was no trace of gloating on the faces of the remaining warriors. Instead, everyone's face showed a solemn meaning. Because all the warriors called out by Chen Ronghuo, even if they were not the most outstanding among them, were above average. Is Chen Ronghuo really stupid? Is he really going to cut the wages of these warriors whose strength is above average by 3/4? With this thought, after Chen Ronghuo finally picked out 200 people from them, whether it was the warriors selected by Chen Ronghuo or the warriors not selected by him, they all showed a tangled look on their faces. I don't know what Chen Ronghuo will do next. Okay, let's stop here today. The warriors just selected by me can go home and rest for another day, and report again tomorrow. Those warriors who were not selected don't have to be sad. You may have another chance in the future depending on the situation. In addition, during this period of time, I heard that you have been complaining about the wages of those growers, which are actually the same as yours. For this matter, I thought about it and it was indeed a bit inappropriate. So I thought about it, from now on, the wages of all the warriors who were not selected by me will be increased by 100 copper coins. The salary increase of 100 means that it was adjusted from 2,000 to 2,100. It's not much. But it's not too little either. But those warriors who were not selected by Chen Ronghuo just now, Those warriors who were worried about being selected by Chen Ronghuo before. After hearing what Chen Ronghuo said, few of them showed excitement. And many even looked unhappy, feeling as if a great opportunity had slipped away from them. Otherwise, why would the salary of warriors with weaker strength like them be increased, while the salary of warriors with stronger strength than them be reduced? Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 136. After Chen Ronghuo divided the 300 to 400 warriors into 2 ranks and gave some hints with words, he looked at Ho San and said, "Ho San, come with me. The others should disperse first." Yes. During this time, Ho San's height increased again, and he was already 2.5 meters tall. Standing there like a dark iron tower, Ho San immediately followed Chen Ronghuo and walked deeper into the Lord's mansion after hearing this. What do you think the Lord is planning to do? The wages of those chosen by the Lord have all been reduced, but those of us who have not been selected by the Lord have had our wages increased. Why does it seem more and more wrong the more I think about this? Nonsense, whoever thinks about this is wrong. If my guess is correct, those who participate in the training camp will definitely benefit greatly, but we cannot know the specific benefits. After Chen Ronghuo left with Ho San, the remaining warriors in the square started talking about it. Especially those warriors who were not selected by Chen Ronghuo. When they looked at those warriors who were selected by Chen Ronghuo, they no longer gloated about their misfortune, but all looked envious. While these people were discussing, those warriors selected by Chen Ronghuo were feeling anxious and a little more hopeful. The mournful look he showed when he was first selected by Chen Ronghuo was completely gone. Everyone is thinking about what Chen Ronghuo will do tomorrow. Ho San. In the Lord's house, after Chen Ronghuo called Ho San in, he picked up a book that had been prepared in advance from the table, handed it to him and said, "This is a practice book called Etiope Demonic Skills. There are 5 levels in total, and you can practice all the way to the 5th level. Each layer corresponds to 1 level. At the same time, it contains not only exercises, but also a complete set of martial arts. You have performed well during this period. I will give you 2 levels first, and you can take them back to practice." This secret book was what he had deduced from ancient books during this period and was the most suitable for Ho San's technique. As he said, the Earth Ape demonic skill is indeed only at the 5th level, and it can only be practiced to the 5th level. But after reaching the 5th level, those who practice the skill can also switch to another skill, the Tianyuan demon skill. After practicing the heavenly ape demonic kung fu to the end, there is also the strange ape demonic kung fu. With his current strength, it is of course impossible to deduce the complete technique, but there is no problem in deducing only 2 levels of the Earth Ape demonic kung fu. Even the energy of the ancient book itself does not need to be used, it only needs to consume some soul power. Thank you, Lord. In front of Chen Ronghuo, Ho San's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard that this technique could be practiced to the 5th level. The 5th level is already an extremely high level for him. He stretched out his hands, took the secret book, and gave Chen Ronghuo a deep salute. After breaking through to the 2nd level of cultivation, what he lacks most now is a book suitable for his cultivation. Seeing Ho San take over the secret book, Chen Ronghuo continued, "This secret book is divided into an original and a copy. The original secret book is relatively advanced and is for you to practice. Only you who have the blood of the Earth War Ape are qualified to practice this technique. The copy also contains a set of exercises and martial arts. The 2 have the same name, but the conditions for cultivation are not high. Of course, after cultivation, the strength they display is also different. You can pass on the exercises and martial arts in the dungeon to your subordinates and let them practice with you." As Chen Ronghuo resettled all the people in Ziahe village, Ho San became more and more loyal to him. Now Ho San's loyalty has reached 97. And this is one of the reasons why Chen Ronghuo chose to take out this technique at this time. "Lord, Don't worry, my subordinates will definitely train an invincible army for the Lord. As soon as Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, Ho San immediately understood what Chen Ronghuo meant. In that case, then go back to practice now. Chen Ronghuo smiled when he heard this. The original and second copies of this secret book complement each other. The deeper your understanding of this technique, the faster your subordinates will practice this technique. Vice versa. Yes. The divine light in Ho San's eyes grew stronger and stronger. Sichue is indeed a skill that can be practiced to the 5th level, and he actually has this magical ability. Watching Ho San slowly retreat, Chen Ronghuo sat on the Lord's throne. After squinting for a while, he heard a burst of footsteps coming from outside. Lord, after a while, Zhu Deipen came in and said, Xiaoruo and others are here. Let them in. He said before that he would give Xiaoruo and other 50 people 10 days each. Now that 10 days have passed, it's time for him to make arrangements for these people. After a while, Xiaoruo and others walked in, led by Zhu Deipen. Seeing them, Chen Ronghuo scanned them one by one, appraised their attributes again, and said directly, I have seen your performance these days, and they are all good. But among them, Xiaoruo's performance is the most outstanding. Therefore, Xiaoruo Dingfeng, my subordinate, is here. Xiaoruo heard this and walked up quickly. Looking at Xiaoruo, Chen Ronghuo showed something strange on his face and said, because of your outstanding performance, I will appoint you as the deputy mayor of Lushwiven Town, responsible for the internal affairs of Lushwiven Town. When I am not in the territory, or when I am practicing in seclusion, all internal affairs in the territory will be handled by you. At the same time, after excluding the 200 warriors who participated in the training in the territory, the remaining warriors will be temporarily handed over to your command. When Chen Ronghuo said this, Xiaoruo was shocked and opened his mouth wide. Even though he was extremely confident in his performance these days, he did not expect Chen Ronghuo to give him such great power. It can be said that once he accepted the power given to him by Chen Ronghuo, he would really ascend to heaven in one step. As for the others, they also showed extreme astonishment. At the same time, they looked at Xiaoruo with extremely complicated eyes. These days, Xiaoruo's performance was indeed good, but just based on Xiaoruo's performance, he received such a reward. Isn't it really too much? After the order was issued, Chen Ronghuo glanced at everyone. He naturally knew that his order was ridiculous. But this is the effect he wanted. In fact, after he became the Lord, he was making plans. He was making plans all the time. The village merged into a town, this is the plan. After the plan was completed, it would allow him to have a more solid control over the power in his hands, and at the same time, it would also speed up the acquisition of the power of faith. Increasing the rewards for growers, this is the plan. After the game is completed, he can harvest the gratitude of the farmers, gain pure faith, and harvest enough food. And use this to make some warriors dissatisfied and lead to the next game. And lowering the rewards of some warriors and raising the rewards of some warriors is also a layout. After the game is completed, both parts of the warriors will be under his control and develop in the direction he expects. And now, appointing Xiaoruo as the deputy mayor of Greenwater Bay Town is also a layout. Through the identification technique of ancient books, he knows that Xiaoruo's loyalty to him has reached 90 because of his bull's grace. On this basis, Xiaoruo's ability is indeed good. And as long as Xiaoruo's ability is good, he can handle things in an orderly and convincing manner in the future, that's enough. And these 4 games, after all the successes, are another game. That is, in the seemingly impossible and absurd, all the choices he made, once they are all proved to be the most correct choices in the future, what effect will it have? Prestige. By then, he will have great prestige in Greenwater Bay Town. In the future, any decision he makes will receive the greatest support from the people. At the same time, the power of faith he can obtain will also rise sharply. Good night everyone, continue to write, you can read another chapter tomorrow morning. Thanks to Boy and Cat for the 500 coin reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 137. Lord, I. When Chen Ronghuo just became the Lord, among so many people, Xiaoruo dared to come out first, which shows that he has great courage. But at this moment, facing the heavy burden given to him by Chen Ronghuo, Xiaoruo still hesitated. Such a burden really made him feel a huge pressure. Don't worry. Seeing Xiaoruo's hesitant expression, Chen Ronghuo stood up from the Lord's throne, walked in front of Xiaoruo, and patted Xiaoruo's shoulder with his left hand. Then, as his fingers passed, he quietly integrated a wisdom attribute into Xiaoruo's body. This wisdom attribute can make Xiaoruo from an outstanding talent to a real top talent, and manage Green Water Bay Town for him. After doing all this, he slowly said, I have two principles for employing people. One is to employ loyal and talented people, and the other is to reward people who have made contributions. I'm employing you now because I know you have this talent. At the same time, I also believe that you will not let me down, right? Don't worry, Lord. It's my blessing that Xiaoruo has been favored by the Lord for several lifetimes. From now on, I, Xiaoruo, no, my Xiao family, will follow the Lord for generations and swear not to disobey. Xiaoruo was excited. Everyone has weaknesses. Xiaoruo's weakness is that he once had talent, but was looked down upon because he couldn't practice martial arts. Now Chen Ronghuo has become his mentor, appreciating his talent and giving him such a great opportunity, which immediately made him, from the bottom of his heart, completely submit to Chen Ronghuo. After arranging Xiaoruo, Chen Ronghuo looked at the others. Su Yang, I will confer you. Lushwiven town is not big, but it is not small either. Taxation management requires people, health management requires people, and even fisheries and many other places also need people. It was not difficult for him to arrange these 50 people. Therefore, he only took more than 10 minutes to arrange everyone. After everything was over, he let all the 50 people disperse. After Xiaoruo and others left, Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui walked in from outside. After hesitating for a while, Li Haishui said to Chen Ronghuo, Lord, although Xiaoruo is talented, he has not made much contribution. It is not good for you to let him become the deputy mayor of Lushwiven town. Nothing bad. Chen Ronghuo shook his head, but did not explain the reason to Li Haishui. In fact, he could not explain this matter. Because in addition to the previous calculations, he let Xiaoruo serve as the deputy mayor and take charge of Lushwiven town on his behalf when he was busy, and there was another calculation. This calculation is balance. All his subordinates were brought from Ziahe village. Huang Taizheng, Huang Lin, Ho San, Zhu Deipen, Li Haishui, all of them are from Ziahe village. Everyone has selfishness. Although Huang Taizheng and others are extremely loyal to him, there is no guarantee that they will inadvertently do something harmful to the town or even him for their own selfishness in the future. So he promoted Xiaoruo now, in fact, to balance the power in his hands. Li Haishui and Zhu Deipen were puzzled, but if Chen Ronghuo didn't say it, they had no way. After dealing with the chores, Chen Ronghuo returned to the secret room and began to practice. In this world, brains are necessary. But brains alone are not enough. Chen Ronghuo deeply knows that no matter what time it is, only strength is his most powerful foundation. In practice, time passed quickly. The next morning, Chen Ronghuo walked out of the secret room and came to the underground martial arts field in Lushwiven town. This underground martial arts field is thousands of square meters. It was built by Xuanhuan with the help of a land magician at a great cost of manpower. After he refined the battle array weapons, the guards of Greenwater Bay Town have been training in the underground martial arts field every day. When Chen Ronghuo arrived, 200 warriors, led by Ho San, had already been waiting here. Chen Ronghuo was still wearing the noble robe with red edges in black. Looking at everyone, he took a deep breath. Now he just needs to arrange these warriors in front of him, and there will be nothing to do. Then he can practice in seclusion for a while and wait for the new town to be built. Thinking of this, he said loudly, I know that everyone must want to know why I want to reduce your wages. Now, I will tell you why I do this. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, everyone pricked up their ears. Including Ho San, they all listened carefully. Because in my opinion, the most important thing for a warrior is not money, but strength. From now on, I will grant you powerful talents and provide you with countless resources, which can greatly improve your strength. At this point, Chen Rong was furious. His eyes fell on this group of people, flickering slightly. This group of people were carefully selected by him. All of them have been identified by him, and there can be no traitors. And then, he planned to make these 200 people in front of him into a trump card in his hand. Give powerful talents. Provide countless resources. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, the warriors below all became excited. For all warriors, strength is the most important. How could they not understand this truth? But they didn't know how Chen Ronghuo planned to give them powerful talents and what resources he planned to provide them with. Lin Bao, come to me. Suddenly, Chen Ronghuo called out a name. Lin Bao in the crowd was startled when he heard it. But when he saw Chen Ronghuo looking at him, he quickly walked out of the crowd and came to Chen Ronghuo. Lin Bao, mid-stage warrior, only half a step away from the late stage. Age 20. Martial arts qualification 2. After Lin Bao came close to him, Chen Ronghuo glanced at Lin Bao, suddenly stepped forward, and pressed a finger on Lin Bao's forehead. And in this press, he immediately integrated a martial arts qualification that he had taken out of the cell before, as well as several blood and chi attributes, and bone hardness attributes, into Lin Bao's body. Boom! Suddenly, as Chen Ronghuo pressed, Lin Bao's aura surged instantly. Lin Bao was already only half a step away from the late stage of the warrior realm. Perhaps he only needed 1 or 2 months of practice to break through. And this time, after Chen Ronghuo injected several blood and chi attributes into his body, his cultivation immediately broke through from the middle stage of the warrior realm to the late stage. Thank you, Lord, thank you for your generous gift. In a moment, feeling the huge changes in his body, Lin Bao suddenly became incoherent. Chen Ronghuo glanced at Lin Bao and knew that Lin Bao must only know that his cultivation had broken through, but he didn't know that his martial arts qualifications had reached 3 points from 2 points. At the same time, Lin Bao probably didn't realize how amazing Chen Ronghuo's method of directly helping him improve his blood and chi was. However, Chen Ronghuo himself knew that once people knew about this move he had shown, it would definitely cause countless troubles. But he had this ability, and if he didn't use it, he would be punished by heaven. So his plan was to hide as long as he could. Then he would grow up in the shortest possible time. A generous gift. Looking at Lin Bao, Chen Ronghuo shook his head and said, "This is just the beginning." Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 138. Chen Ronghuo said that at the beginning, it was because he really planned to invest a lot of money in these people. In addition to martial arts aptitude attributes, energy and blood attributes, and bone hardness attributes, in a few days, he also plans to get some of the vitality attributes of yellow cabbage and bless these people. A warrior's body has limits, and the amount of time he can practice every day is naturally limited. If you practice for too long, you will be unable to bear it. And once he blesses these people with the vitality attributes of yellow cabbage, as long as there is a large supply of food, the time these people can practice every day will increase 4 or even 5 times. Even after 7 days, when the fishery produces green pearl fish ointment according to his instructions, he will use the ointment on these people. To improve your qualifications, you can use your energy and blood attributes to directly increase your cultivation level, increase your training time, increase the supply of resources, and provide advanced skills. Chen Ronghuo believes that the cultivation speed of these 200 people will definitely increase by more than 10 times in the future. In this way, as long as they practice in the underground training ground for 1 year, it is equivalent to more than 10 years. By then, the weakest among these people will probably have the strength of a mid-level warrior realm. In the later stages of the warrior realm, warriors at the peak of the warrior realm will appear in large numbers. Among these people, there are more than a dozen people who originally possess the peak strength of the warrior realm. It is estimated that in a year's time, it is not impossible for several people to break through and become earth warriors. Jihuo, come forward. After asking Lin Bao to retreat, Chen Ronghuo called another person to come forward. After Lin Bao went down, everyone else looked at him with questioning looks. I want to know what happened after Chen Ronghuo pointed his finger to make Lin Bao lose his composure like that. All the changes that Lin Bao had just experienced were all changes within his body. In addition, they were standing far away, so they didn't know what benefits Lin Bao got. However, Lin Bao stood up straight in the face of everyone's inquiries, without squinting. This scene made everyone feel itchy and uncomfortable. But it's not just Lin Bao. As time passed, a famous warrior followed Lin Bao's example after walking in front of Chen Ronghuo and then returning. This made those warriors who had not been called by Chen Ronghuo's names even more itchy and unbearable, and wanted to know what benefits they had received. Just now, after 50 people were called out by Chen Ronghuo one after another, Chen Ronghuo suddenly said, "Okay, let's get here today. What I just rewarded you also comes at a high price. The rest of us will continue tomorrow." After finishing speaking, he looked at Lin Bao, Jihuo, and others and said, "The other thing is, I am giving you this time, and I sincerely hope that you will not disappoint me in the future. Lord, don't worry, we are willing to follow you, and work with you to create a new world." After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, Lin Bao and others immediately faced Chen Ronghuo and knelt down on one knee with a look of determination on their faces. Chen Ronghuo nodded. Then he encouraged everyone a few words, then signaled to Ho San, and temporarily left the underground training ground. After Chen Ronghuo left, the warriors in the training ground immediately looked at the 50 warriors who had just been called to him by Chen Ronghuo. "Lin Bao, what benefits did you get just now?" "Yes, now that the Lord has left, you can finally talk, right?" "What are the benefits?" Seeing everyone asking, Lin Bao suddenly laughed and said, "I am now a late-stage warrior in the warrior realm." "Late stage of warrior realm? How is this possible? Could it be that just at that moment, the Lord directly upgraded your cultivation level to the late stage of warrior stage?" Hearing Lin Bao say this, everyone looked in disbelief. Even Ho San showed a bit of surprise. "Lin Bao, you are so lucky at this time," another warrior who had just been called forward by Chen Ronghuo said, "My cultivation level has also improved a lot just now. It's just that I'm still a little short of a breakthrough." Then someone else chimed in, "I'm still a little behind." "Haha, it seems that Lin Bao and I should be the luckiest." Zhehu, the second person called up by Chen Ronghuo, laughed loudly and said, "My cultivation level has just reached the middle stage of the warrior realm. The breakthrough is in the later stages." It's just that they laughed and discussed with each other, but it made those warriors who didn't get any benefits this time look extremely envious. Of course, in their envy, they also have expectations and look forward to tomorrow. It seems there's more to it than that. At this time, a person in the crowd suddenly got into a stance and started boxing on the spot. Boom boom boom. After a set of punches were fired, the man stood up with his fists closed, and a look of extreme disbelief suddenly appeared on his face. Follow him and look at the others. What the Lord just rewarded us seems to be not only our cultivation, but also our qualifications. You all should try it. I feel like my qualifications have been doubled. Qualifications doubled. When the others heard this, they all showed disbelief. Improving qualifications is much more difficult than simply improving a part of your cultivation. Just now, Chen Ronghuo just pressed lightly between their eyebrows. Could it be that in that press, he also helped them improve their qualifications? However, amid such confusion, as several of them finished a set of punches, their expressions all changed. Lin Bao, Zhehu, tell me quickly, did the Lord really improve your martial arts qualifications just now? Seeing their facial expressions change, those warriors who were not called by name by Chen Ronghuo today hurriedly asked. Improved. If I had a chance to cultivate to become a warrior of the earth before, then now, I am afraid I have a chance to cultivate to become a warrior of the sky. Me too, in the past, I estimated that being able to cultivate to the warrior realm was the limit. But now, even becoming a warrior of the earth is not impossible. Several people spoke up one after another, and the joy on their faces was beyond words. When the others heard this, they all took a deep breath. Improving cultivation and martial arts qualifications, such a huge gain, let alone reducing their salary by 3/4, even if their salary was completely deducted, it would not be too much. At this moment, these people are full of yearning for the future. At the same time, they also feel lucky that they and others can be selected by Chen Ronghuo this time. At this time, Chen Ronghuo, who had left the underground training ground, turned his head and looked at the entrance of the training ground, and a trace of inexplicable color appeared in his eyes. After leaving the underground training ground, he could clearly feel that the power of faith absorbed by the Lord's statue had increased. The power of faith in this world is a bit strange. It is not that someone must believe in him in order to obtain the power of faith. Instead, as long as someone in his territory exudes various emotions, he can obtain the power of faith. So Chen Ronghuo thinks it is more appropriate to change the power of faith in this world to the power of emotion. However, among these emotional powers, only the power of happiness, joy, expectation, and other positive emotions can be transformed into various powers to assist practitioners in their practice. Those negative emotions are not only useless, but also interfere with practitioners. And this is why he did not improve the qualifications of everyone at once, and did not integrate the vitality of the yellow heart cabbage. The long-term flow of water is the right way. In addition, this can also subtly make those warriors sincerely convinced by him. Just like a beast tamer. A beast tamer must do it again and again. Only through repeated contact and repeated benefits can those unruly beasts be tamed and used for their own purposes. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 139. After walking out of the underground training ground, Chen Ronghuo came to the cell again. Only this time, he did not draw attributes from the prisoners in the cell. Instead, he ordered everyone to send all the prisoners out of Greenwater Bay Town. In the next period of time, the entire town will flourish under his leadership. Continuing to keep these people in the cell will not only waste food, but also destroy the purity of his faith. As for where these people will go after leaving and whether they will defect to Zhou Yuanhua, it is not up to him. After dealing with the matter, he started practicing in seclusion again. But in the next few days, he would go to the underground training ground every day. Go and meet those 200 warriors. When integrating various attributes into those people's bodies, he also assessed the growth rate of these people's loyalty. The results obtained were quite satisfactory to him. As for those warriors who were not selected by him, after a few days of decadence, most of them began to regroup and practice hard. I hope I can be chosen by him next time I have another chance. Then some time passed, and a month after he issued the order to build the new town. The construction of the new town centered on Shanghe village has finally come to an end. The new town was named Shanghe Town. After the new town was built, Chen Ronghuo immediately ordered villagers from more than a dozen villages to move to the new town. The villagers were hesitant and dissatisfied, but there was nothing they could do. After all the villagers arrived at Shanghe Town, Chen Ronghuo and Shamao also rushed to Shanghe Town. There is a large area of land surrounding Shanghe Town. It's just that this land is full of ravines and, for some unknown reason, barren of grass, making it unsuitable for planting. Cursed place. In the past, a third-level warlock from the Magic Li family cursed and killed a third-level peak cultivator here at the cost of his life. And this place is also under the influence of the curse, and it is difficult to survive. Only another 20 years would pass before the land could come back to life. Chen Ronghuo looked at this land, his eyes flashing. On the way, he got off the fat cat and tried to touch the ground with his left hand. After a while, he pulled out several cursed attributes from the earth. Although this cursed land was left behind by a third-level warlock, it seems that it has gone through too long, making these curses extremely weak. Chen Ronghuo believes that after his own treatment, this land can definitely be rejuvenated quickly. With this in mind, he mounted Fat Cat again and continued to drive towards Shanghe Town. Sir Huang, the Lord said before that after the new town is built, he will take us all as his subjects. Will there be any mistakes in this matter? Yes, during this period we didn't even plant the land, let alone hunt and store food. We just kept building a new town here. If things go wrong and we go back, we will really have a hard time. Several village chiefs gathered around Huang Taizheng and asked him anxiously. Don't worry. Huang Taizheng shook his head when he heard this and said, Lord Jingkaoyuyan, there will never be any mistakes in what he said. But after he finished speaking, the village chiefs and nearby villagers still couldn't relax. Given the environment of the land around Xiahe town, it was obviously impossible for them to farm. Everyone wants to know how Chen Ronghuo plans to arrange them in the future. If there is no good resettlement method, even if they are adopted as subjects, what is the use? Your status as a citizen cannot be used as food. Roar. While these people were waiting, Shamao suddenly roared like a tiger and appeared on the field carrying Chen Ronghuo. Meet the Lord. Seeing Chen Ronghuo, Huang Taizheng and others quickly bowed to him and saluted. The originally noisy scene suddenly became silent due to the arrival of Chen Ronghuo and the shock of Shamao's huge size. Mr. Huang, you have worked hard during this time. Chen Ronghuo first exchanged a few polite words with Huang Taizheng. Then he turned his head, focused his gaze on a large number of townspeople in the field, vibrated the air with the power of his soul, and said in a loud voice, Hello everyone, I am Chen Ronghuo, the new lord of Greenwater Baytown. I know that now everyone is worried about how you will live in the future after you move here. Let me tell you now, you don't have to worry about this at all. Because in the next period of time, your clothing, food, shelter, and transportation will all be provided by me. And what you need to do is help me reclaim the wasteland outside Shanghe town as soon as possible. Chen Ronghuo had to make use of the vast wasteland outside Shanghe village. This wasteland is vast. Once it is reclaimed, as long as he extracts all the cursed attributes and incorporates some of the fertile attributes of the land into it, the potential is absolutely huge. In the future, he plans to make Shanghe town his grain production base. Otherwise, the few pieces of land on the shore of Lushwiven town alone, no matter how productive they are, and even if combined with the aquatic products of Lushwiven town, can only feed and drink 20,000 people. No matter how much people want to supply, they will be unable to do so. But his future subjects will obviously not be only 20,000 people. With these thoughts in mind, he continued, I know you are worried that after this land is reclaimed, you will still not be able to grow crops. But you can also rest assured about this matter. Because the problems in this land are just small problems to me. Also, after today, I will open a school in Shanghai town. Your children, and even you yourselves, will be able to learn in schools. There is also martial arts. I will also teach you a middle-grade apprentice-level martial arts. In addition, after this land is reclaimed and able to grow crops, I can also rent this land to you. Chen Ronghuo stood in front of the crowd and talked. As he spoke every word, looking forward to the future and drawing a blueprint, the eyes of all the residents of Newtown became brighter and brighter when they looked at him. And under such a huge sense of expectation. And Chen Ronghuo did fulfill his promise. He quickly took out a middle-grade apprentice-level kung fu book and asked people to open several schools in Shanghai town. After 2 days of hard work, the citizens of Shanghai town worked hard. A few months later, a large area of wasteland around Shanghai town was reclaimed. After the land was reclaimed, Chen Ronghuo also quietly discovered all the cursed properties in the land. And let Shamao take him to find out many fertile properties of land from other places and integrate them into this land. Then, under his arrangement, the residents of Shanghai town soon planted a large number of crops on this land. Of course, these crops are just ordinary crops. Before he was not strong enough, it would be best for him not to expose high-yielding crops. After all, this place is no better than Greenwater Bay Town. There is no way to cover up such a large area of crops. At the same time, he grows a large number of ordinary crops here, which can also provide some cover for the high-yielding crops in Greenwater Bay Town. Time passed quickly. In the following period, the situation on Beiwu Island became increasingly chaotic. Many forces are fighting against each other. However, under such an environment, Chen Ronghuo hid in this corner of Beiwu Island and managed his territory in a short period of time. At this time, it came 1 year after he became the Lord. Thanks to the weird person for the 100 coin reward, and thanks to everyone for recommending monthly tickets at you are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 140. It is only a few miles from Shanghai town to Lushwiven town. Early that morning, more than 1,000 people from Shanghai town rushed to Lushwiven town. Colorful dragon boats are parked on the shore of green water. After these people arrived, they all stopped and looked at the dragon boats. This day is the monthly dragon boat race. This kind of competition did not exist in Lushwiven town before. It was only after Chen Ronghuo became the Lord and Shanghai town was built that such an event was created at Chen Ronghuo's suggestion. However, only people from Shanghai town can participate in the competition. People in Lushwiven town can only watch on the day of the dragon boat race. At the same time, after the contestants in Shanghai town win, they and their support groups will be able to enter Greenwater Bay town and get the opportunity to shop at reduced prices. The wind is singing, the clouds are singing, the green water and green mountains are all songs, the flowers are singing, the birds are singing, the green water and green mountains are all songs. At this time, on the stage set up in the Green Water Center, accompanied by several graceful figures turning and dancing, a girl in her 20s and 80s walked into the middle and spread her singing voice in all directions. This is the opening ceremony of the dragon boat competition. Except for the dragon boat race. During this year, Chen Ronghuo also cultivated several star-like figures in Lushwiven town. The girl on stage is named Lin Yanying, and she is one of the most sought-after stars. Lin Yanying already had a good voice and temperament, but after Chen Ronghuo incorporated several attributes of natural voice and natural beauty into her singing voice suddenly became even more extraordinary. On the city wall of Lushwiven town, Chen Ronghuo stood at the highest point with one hand on the wall. His eyes seemed to be looking at the graceful and dancing Lin Yanning below, but in fact, what was reflected in his eyes were the two important towns of Iron Blood Town and Tongluo Town. My subordinates pay their respects to the Lord. Suddenly, a figure appeared strangely from behind Chen Ronghuo, as if appearing out of thin air. However, after this figure appeared, he immediately knelt down on one knee to Chen Ronghuo. "Get up." Chen Ronghuo shook his head, turned around, cast his eyes on Huanglin and said, "I said before, you and I don't need to use such etiquette when there's no one around." "Yes." Huanglin responded, stood up and walked to Chen Ronghuo. "How do you feel about Greenwater Bay Town now?" After glancing at Huanglin, Chen Ronghuo asked with a smile. "Prosperity, prosperity," Huanglin replied succinctly. "The winner of the dragon boat race can enter the town to shop at low prices, which allows the Lord to gain a lot of faith power and promotes currency circulation." Lin Yanning and the others have now become the targets of a large number of teenagers in the town. As long as they hold a song and dance meeting at intervals, they can make countless people's hearts burn. And newspapers, as well as the crosstalk, sketches, and other performances proposed by the Lord, they were also widely welcomed by the people. Over the past year, the development of our territory has probably exceeded everyone's expectations. Huanglin said sincerely. The original Greenwater Bay Town did not have so many tricks. Under the influence of so many tricks, it will not take long for the territory to gather a large amount of pure power of faith. It will be beyond everyone's expectations, but so what? Chen Ronghuo glanced into the distance. "I am just a Baron Lord now. The Baron Lord can only keep 20% of the power of faith gained, and 80% is dedicated to the gods. Unlike the Viscount Lord, who can keep 40% of the power of faith for himself. With our previous cultivation, the power of these beliefs was enough, but now, in 1 year, Chen Ronghuo's cultivation has reached the middle stage of the second level after refining a large amount of faith. Even now he is only one step away from the late second level. Huanglin's cultivation level was the same as his, and he was only one step away from reaching the late second level. Ho-san has recently reached the middle stage of the second level due to his practice of the Earth Demon Ape Kung Fu, with the help of a large number of subordinates. As for the 200 warriors selected by Chen Ronghuo, after a year of training, even the weakest one has reached the late stage of the warrior realm. There are dozens of warriors at the peak of the warrior realm. There were even 5 warriors who were originally at the peak of the warrior realm and broke through to become earth warriors. It can be said that Chen Ronghuo now has warrior level combat power, as well as earth warrior level combat power, which is no less than that of some important town lords with weak weaknesses. After hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Huanglin said, "Lord, as you ordered, I have been in the iron-blooded town during this period. Not long ago, Tai Fei's Hang, the lord of the Iron Blood Town, and Lu Bowen, the lord of the Mentang Town beside him, were both injured in a battle not long ago because of some unknown reason." Oh! Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed slightly. In addition, this battle seems to have the shadow of Zhou Yuanhua. Huanglin continued, "Afterwards, I found a trace of Zhou Yuanhua's aura at the place where the two of them fought." Zhou Yuanhua. Chen Ronghuo raised his eyebrows. Within a year, Zhou Yuanhua and he had gone to two extremes. Most lords care about the power of faith. But now Zhou Yuanhua seems to have completely given up on the power of faith. Through inquiring, Chen Ronghuo knew that Zhou Yuanhua was now almost like Zhou Beipi. Even the people in his own territory were not spared. However, with Zhou Yuanhua's talent, if he had refined all the power of faith that he had taken from Han Bai a year ago, then now, his cultivation would have reached the peak of the second level and started to think about the road to the third level. The third level. Chen Ronghuo glanced into the distance. In a year, he had hardly consumed any energy from the ancient book. Although he had not seen a third level cultivator yet. But after a year of accumulation, The energy stored in the ancient book could probably help him take down 1 or 2 third-level cultivators. However, the power of the ancient book is only the power of the ancient book after all. Once the power of the ancient book is exhausted, he will return to his original form. I declare that the 4th dragon boat race in Lushwiven town has officially begun. At this time, as the flag in the hands of the host of the dragon boat race fell, all the dragon boats in the water flew away. Chen Ronghuo stood on the city wall and looked down. He happened to see Lin Yanying, who had just walked down from the stage, looking at him from afar with an admiring look. Shaking his head, Chen Ronghuo suddenly said to Huang Lin, "Do you think Zhou Yuanhua could have attacked Tai Fei's Hang when Tai Fei's Hang was seriously injured, just like he attacked Han Bai? Then plunder the power of faith of Taixu town in order to reach the 3rd level." This. Huang Lin's pupils shrank. It's not that he hadn't thought about this. It's just that this was too crazy, so he denied it in the end. Thanks to Yunhe for the 100 coin reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 141. Lord, if Zhou Yuanhua really does this and succeeds, it will be very disadvantageous to us. I don't know what we should do next. Now he still doesn't know how strong Chen Ronghuo is. But if Zhou Yuanhua really reaches the 3rd level, it will not be a good thing anyway. What to do? Chen Ronghuo pondered for a moment. Let's wait and see. He is not afraid of Zhou Yuanhua breaking through to the 3rd level, and even hopes that Zhou Yuanhua can break through to the 3rd level as soon as possible. Because after Zhou Yuanhua breaks through, he can start to attack Zhou Yuanhua. Then use the special features of the 2 rules of natural disaster and earth disaster to take all the power of Zhou Yuanhua for himself. But the tree wants to be quiet, but the wind does not stop. Just when Chen Ronghuo was going to wait and see, in Black Tiger Town, the Lord of Black Tiger Town, Xuejun, still sat on the throne of the Lord as he did when discussing Green Water Bay Town last time. The only difference is that this time, there is only Zhenkinzan, who is in white robe and white hair, below him. Zhenkinzan looking at Zhenkinzan, Xuejun said coldly, "The people in Tongluo Town have left, and they are now in conflict with Yuanhe Town. Next, I want to take over Lushwiven Town. You won't stop me, right?" This year, Lushwiven Town has developed rapidly and should have accumulated a lot of faith power. Once we take over Lushwiven Town, it will be a big gain for us. A few months ago, Xuejun's cultivation had already broken through to the late 2nd stage. It's just that during this period, some people in Tongluo Town, who didn't know what they were looking for, stayed in their Black Tiger Town for a long time, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Now, Tongluo Town has clashed with Yuanhe Town, which is not far away from it. The 2 sides have fought several battles in succession, and those who were in Black Tiger Town before have also left. So in his opinion, this is the best time to take over Lushwiven Town. He is even thinking about whether to use the big killer in the secret library to take over Tongluo Town after taking over Lushwiven Town. Zhenkinzan sighed silently. After thinking for a while, he said, "Chen Ronghuo of Lushwiven Town has been able to run Lushwiven Town so prosperously in such a short time. He is definitely not a simple person." Before Zhenkinzan finished speaking, Xuejun glared at him. "Zhenkinzan, you have said this many times. I admit that Chen Ronghuo is not simple. But no matter how complicated he is, can he still compare with my Moli family?" Hearing Xuejun say this, Zhenkinzan immediately knew that it was obviously impossible for him to persuade Xuejun again this time. After thinking for a while, he said, "It is not impossible for the Lord to take over Lushwiven Town. But I think that instead of mobilizing a large number of troops and invading Lushwiven Town on a large scale, it is better to let the Black Tiger Beast go to test it first. Let the Black Tiger Beast go to test it first." Xuejun narrowed his eyes when he heard this. The former Moli family raised a king-level Black Sky Tiger Beast. However, the black sky tiger beast had long since died, and the black tiger beast in their territory now was a mixed-blood black tiger beast. After years of training, this mixed-blood black tiger beast now has the strength of the second stage late stage. Xuanhuan thought about it. With the strength of the second stage late stage black tiger beast, it should not be a problem to test Greenwater Bay Town, let alone other things, and get out of it unscathed. Moreover, although the name of their black tiger territory contains the two words black tiger, up to now, no one should know that they have such a black tiger beast in their black tiger town. Thinking of this, he said in a deep voice, "Okay, in that case, I will listen to you again. Tonight I will arrange for the black tiger beast to go to Greenwater Bay Town to test it." Zhenkinzan shook his head and said, "Not to Greenwater Bay Town. Chen Ronghuo is in Greenwater Bay Town and can mobilize the power of faith in the Lord's statue. Once he is too strong, it is not impossible to leave the black tiger beast. So the Lord sends the black tiger beast to test, just go to Shanghe Town." Xuanhuan clenched his fist angrily. "Okay, I'll do as you say." Meow. In Greenwater Bay Town, after Huang Lin went back, the fat cat who didn't know where to play suddenly came out and went directly to Chen Ronghuo's arms. Chen Ronghuo was helpless. He could only hold the fat cat, which weighed more than 20 kilograms and looked like a ball, and walked towards the Lord's mansion. The fat cat blinked his eyes, lying in Chen Ronghuo's arms, looking around happily. If someone didn't know, no one would know that it was a demon. Moreover, after Chen Ronghuo's cultivation level broke through, it also broke through to the middle stage of the second stage under Chen Ronghuo's feedback. Swish. After Chen Ronghuo returned to the Lord's mansion, a 7-color spirit tree more than 10 meters high in the courtyard of the Lord's mansion immediately shook its branches and greeted him. Chen Ronghuo quickly found the shadow of the 7-color spirit butterfly among the branches. The 7-color spirit butterfly's cultivation level improved a little slower, but after a year, it also broke through to the second stage. Together with this 7-color spirit tree, it also promoted to a second stage spirit wood. Swoosh. Seeing the 7-color spirit butterfly, the fat cat immediately jumped out of Chen Ronghuo's arms, and after a flash, it fell under the big tree. Then it looked at the 7-color spirit butterfly eagerly. Seeing its appearance, the 7-color spirit butterfly felt helpless. But after a while, it couldn't stand the fat cat's appearance, and vibrated its wings, condensing the 7-color spirit light into 7-color raindrops, and sprinkled it on the fat cat. Being showered with colorful spiritual rain, Fat Mao immediately narrowed his eyes, his whole big fat face showing a comfortable expression. Seeing it like this, Chen Ronghuo felt helpless. But just when he was about to ignore the fat cat, return to the Lord's mansion, and practice for a while, the light in his eyes suddenly dimmed, as if he had lost his soul. At the same time, his consciousness suddenly appeared in the inner space of the ancient book. And just after he appeared here, as a tiny golden star fell outside and was attracted to the film of the ancient book, a picture immediately flashed out in his mind. This time, there was nothing else in the picture, just a black tiger covered in darkness. This black tiger is huge, 4 to 5 meters in size. At first glance, it looks like a powerful demon. Moreover, Chen Ronghuo was very familiar with the location of this black tiger. That's right near Shanghe Town. At this time, the black tiger seemed to be heading in the direction of Shanghe Town, checking something. It seemed that it was going to harm Shanghe Town. This is the capturing ability of ancient books. After a moment, Chen Ronghuo's consciousness returned to his original body. Thinking of the scene in the picture just now, he took a breath. It has been more than a year since the last change in the ancient book, but this time, it was the first time in this year that the ancient book captured information that was beneficial to him. But this time, the ancient book captured information about a black tiger near Shanghe Town. What use can it be to me? Chen Ronghuo was a little confused. This time, The ancient book only conveyed a picture to him, and no words appeared. But just as he was thinking this, with a flash of light from the corner of his eye, he suddenly noticed the fat cat not far away, who almost fainted from comfort after being baptized by the colorful spiritual rain. Wrong. Suddenly, Chen Ronghuo's eyes lit up. He thought about fat cat's special abilities. It occurred to me that fat cats can swallow dragon and tiger demons and gain their power and abilities. Caven, I thought about the outline carefully. I owe one more chapter counting the previous 2 chapters, as well as subscription extra updates, Alliance Leader extra updates, and monthly tickets extra updates. There are 26 chapters in total on the basis of a guaranteed 5 updates every day. This 26 updates must be posted before the end of January, otherwise it will be on women's clothing. Thanks to GeniusProtagonist for the 100 coin reward.